We were buying 3 truckloads of wax a month back then. This thing works the way I think it'll work. We're going to go from 3 truckloads to 27 truckloads next month.
No way.
I'm not going to make this, Donna. I need to tell the buyer. She goes, if you tell them that you can't do it, you'll never get another chance.
What's the most challenging thing about the candle business right now today?
Finding about the wholesale gift markets was the ticket.
When did you make the transition from potpourri to candles?
I take $75 worth of old potpourri and trade it to her for a stove to make my first candles in. And my raw materials increased 3 times. So all of a sudden, I'm losing $1 a candle on that, trying to save a sinking ship.
What kept you from throwing the hat in?
That's a good question.
We want to give a special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Greenwood Gerhardt. Starting with my parents, for years, they've helped my family feel at peace by having a team we can trust build our finances for the future. One thing I love about Greenwood Gerhardt is how directly involved the team is in the holistic planning of our finances. We can regularly check in with our advisor and know that they see the full picture of our family, even between generations. I know they're adding immense value to so many lives here in Northwest Arkansas. And to learn more about Greenwood Gerhardt and their suite of services, you can visit their website at greenwoodgerhardt.com or hit the link in the show description. Now, let's dive into the episode. Burt Hanna, thanks for coming on.
You bet.
Yeah, we're sitting here in one of your warehouses. Tell us where we're at right now.
We're at the candle factory. It used to be the old Standard Register plant. So this building was built in the 50s. It was a plant that had been a staple in Fayetteville for years, for 60 years. And then they went bankrupt because of the changing market. Standard Register, they did stuff like tickets.
Yep.
Ticket business has gone away. It's all become digital. And so I think their market declined. And we were lucky enough to be able to buy it right when they filed for bankruptcy. And I bought it from CBRE, Dave Erstein. I think that's who you worked for. Is that right?
I worked with Clinton for a while, but yeah, they worked together. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really God's blessing to get this plant here. This has been a game changer for us. It's perfect for making candles because it's rectangular. So candles need a lot of length to because you pour them and they cool as they travel down a conveyor. And this is like 575 feet long. This is the best candle factory in the world.
Well, everyone probably can't see if they're not watching on video, but like there's, the very long, conveyor belts that are right here behind you. It's pretty cool. We can see it. We can see into everything right now.
And did you know that when you saw this place? You knew it was going to be the
rail.
fit?
Oh yeah, I knew it.
Yeah,
I was lucky. I didn't ever think I'd get to buy this plant. In fact, I knew when they filed for bankruptcy, Standard Register got bought by a company called Taylor Products, and they're a $2 billion company. And I wrote a letter to the president lady whose family owns it. Her last name was Taylor. Sent it FedEx and asked her just to let me have a chance to buy this building. And she had their realtor out of Denver call me, and then they gave it to CBRE for David Erstein. And man, the first time I was the first person they showed it to, and I made an offer.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, this is the best candle factory in the world. I've been to a lot. This one is it.
What's the most challenging thing about the candle business right now today?
Oh, the bad part about the candle business is it's no barrier to entry. You could set up something in your garage today, go buy some wax, get a hot plate and a kettle, and be pouring candles in 2 hours or
selling
5 hours.
on Etsy. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And they don't know what the real cost to they don't understand what the real cost to be at scale is. Now, there's a big trade-off between cost. You see these candles on Etsy for $40.
Yeah.
And we sell that to our retailers for $4 or $2 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you got to have a lot of capital investment to make 100,000 candles a day in and day out.
Jeez. Well, tell us about the beginning. So when you grew up here, college here, and you started the business in college?
Yeah, I did. I was a senior at the University of Arkansas, getting my degree in accounting. I was married at the time, and she made some potpourri that that is a craft project. And I said that's back when potpourri was popular. That if y'all know what potpourri is, and that was the beginning of something to do. She did it as a craft project. I tried to figure out how to sell it, and I want to thank Collier Drug. My buyer was Cheryl Willis. She was my first buyer ever. She bought $18 worth of potpourri from me.
No way.
So yeah, Cheryl Willis will always I'll always answer her phone call.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so like that was you started it during your senior year of college while she was, and then it was just, hey, we got to make some money. Let's go sell this.
Well, my goal was only making extra $100 a month. I mean, that's back in the old days. My house payment was $187. I didn't have a job. I was going to school full time, and I was just looking for a way to make money. I had no idea it could get this big.
Yeah. And so talk about, you didn't graduate. You left college early because you made some good money that first year, right? It was for the time, maybe.
It takes about 30 years before you ever really make any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the let's see. So I was going to college, I had a scholarship, had 9 hours left to get my accounting degree. I didn't have a full scholarship. They gave me like $400. That's back when tuition was $400.
That's hilarious.
I was working till 2 at night, and I stopped doing my homework in advanced accounting. And the head of the accounting department was teaching advanced accounting. Her name was Doris Cook. She's dead now, so I can talk bad about her. But anyway, one day she came into class. I had done my homework, and I was, I went to bed at 2 and woke up at 8. Tuesday, Thursday classes started at 8, last an hour and a half. She asked me, she said, Mr. Hanna, if you'd bought these two businesses and you're consolidating these balance sheets, how would you do it? And I hadn't done my homework. I said, well, if I just bought these two businesses, I have my accountant Steve do it. That's the guy next to me. He's a lot better at accounting than me. And she got so mad at me, she made me come to her office after class. And I went into class. She yelled at me, fussed at me, said that you better blah, blah, blah. And so I did the coolest thing ever. I just turned around, walked out, and I used to ride my motorcycle up to school. I had a Honda XL 250. I'd ride up. Back in the old days, right up the sidewalk. I'd park right next to BA. I hopped on my motorcycle, drove down to went down to the bookstore, Arkansas bookstore back in the old days, sold all my books and never went back. I didn't drop. I didn't do anything. So I'm sure that's last semester, which would be 87. I'm sure I just got, what's a W or whatever.
Yeah.
F's on everything.
Yeah.
Never went back, never asked. So I started working full time. That was in March of 1987. And my goal was to make an extra $100 a month. I started trying to figure out how to make and sell this stuff. So you got these little gift shops in Eureka Springs or whatever. And back then there was a little gift shops everywhere. There's thousands of them. Every town had a lot of little gift shops, independents. Me and my wife at the time, I said, let's go on a sales trip for spring break. And I took off. And this was probably, the spring break trip was before I quit. We drove from Tulsa to Dallas. And I was driving through Dallas, and I looked up and saw World Trade Center. I didn't know what that meant, but I pulled in there, and she's like, why are we going in there? And she was hagging at me about why I wanted to do that. And I walked into the World Trade Center, and I picked up a magazine. You know, they have magazines out in the lobby.
Yeah.
Giftware news. Gift and decorative accessories and giftware news. And that showed how that's where people, when you say go to market, that's where the market was. I learned about these wholesale trade shows from stopping in at the World Trade Center. And, back then I go to like Dub Ashton, who's head of the marketing department, and say, Dub, how do you sell this stuff? And those guys don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But finding about the wholesale gift markets was the ticket. And we started going to trade shows, and we'd set up a booth at a trade show. And so my first real trade show was in June of 1987. I went to a trade show in Chicago, set up a booth, drove all night up to Chicago, set up a booth, and figured out how not to have to pay the union fees to set up your booth because they'll hammer you on that stuff. We ended up selling $20,000 the first day. So
wow,
it kind of took off from there. So that first 9 months, I sold about $180,000 worth of potpourri from March until December. Then the first full year, I sold about $800,000 worth of potpourri, and we're working out a little crappy building, and I was always out of money.
Yeah,
broke.
Yeah, trying to get more product. I assume
you start a business and you buy stuff you never thought you had to buy: a desk, a computer, a filing cabinet, a pallet jack, inventory. Just goes on. And I was, my dad's a great man, and he had this building in South Fayetteville that he rented to me. Father Teal probably didn't even charge me rent. I don't know what it was. He actually sold it to me, I think, and started the business. And I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know what pallet rack was. I tried to build my own pallet rack out of 2x4s. Of course, nothing was square and it all looked like junk, but built the business up. And then I was just, I started out with $4,000 in savings, and I didn't realize what it was. My dad said, you need a line of credit. I didn't know what a line of credit was, but he took me up to, I went to McElroy Bank, which is now Arvest on the Square. I went to see a loan officer who I knew because I had worked at Arvest as a kid. And her name was Karen Martin, and she loaned me $2,500. That's all she'd loan me without a co-signature, which is reasonable. Of course, that $2,500 didn't last 10 minutes. And my dad said, you need a line of credit. And he took me up there, and he did the coolest thing a dad can do. He co-signed a line of credit with Gary Head, who was my banker, and Head gave me $50,000 for with my dad's signature line of credit. Of course, man, I blew through that like crazy because you're buying stuff you never think you need. I mean, just expenses everywhere. And I blew through that, and then I needed more. My dad did the coolest thing ever. He co-signed a $250,000 line of credit for me back in 1987 or 88, 87 or 88.
A lot of money back then. Yeah,
it was. And the business was growing and just continued to grow. So my second full year in business, I sold $2 million worth of potpourri. And Gary Head did the coolest thing ever in February, Valentine's Day of 1989. I'm walking through McElroy Bank, and Gary gave me my dad's signature back.
Wow.
Bankers don't do that anymore. So
that's crazy.
Big shout out to Gary Head for doing that. Now, Arvest probably wouldn't even give me my dad's signature back now. It's crazy. But thank you, Gary Head. So I've been standing on my own since 1989. I've been able to borrow all the money, and that's one of the beauties of America. You get a kid who shows up in there in shorts and T-shirt and tennis shoes, and, they loan you money.
Yeah.
They probably don't do that anymore. Banks are a lot pickier. But back then, Gary could shoot from the hip. And so that's how I got started.
Banks are a little bigger here now, too.
Well, banks, the federal regulations are different. But then I started having to build buildings to grow the business because you couldn't find buildings in Fayetteville, Arkansas at that time.
Yeah.
So tell us why. I mean, $800K in sales in the first year and $2 million.
First 12 months was 800. Okay. Second year was $2 million.
So what was different about your potpourri, or why do you think the growth was so quick?
It was a growing market. It was everywhere. Oh, and there's a company in Heber Springs named Aromatique. She was the market leader. Her name was Patty Upton, and she was a wealthy woman. You could tell by the way she presented herself, and she was always in the Gazette at the time.
Yep.
Brag about how rich she is getting making potpourri. So I thought that was a good business to get into. And she is a lot more fancy than me, and she sold to Dillard's, and we sold to independent gift shops. Her packaging was fancier, stuff like that. But that's why I guess what was really the question is why it grew.
So you think it was more the market than your product or your go to market strategy? I mean, it was just
a
kind of
rising tide floats all boats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when the tide goes out, you find out who's swimming without their bathing suit on. So anyway, the potpourri was hotter and hot. You just couldn't get enough of it. Everybody was on fire, and we were always trying to give value. And so after about my second year, I got an appointment with a Walmart buyer. So I am 26, 25, working out of a building not much bigger than his office. And I get just me and this buyer named Doyle Parker, and he was looking for potpourri, and I had an appointment with him. He is looking, this is in January, and he writes me an order with a pencil and a piece of accounting paper. He writes me a $750,000 order with a Pentel pencil on a piece of accounting paper. I got 45 days to figure out how to make $750,000 worth of potpourri. In 45 days in a building not this big.
Wow.
It is. And so, of course, my wife at the time, she was big on vacationing. She is already gone. She didn't even know. And so didn't even know or wasn't even there. So I was so excited, this big order. I got my dad. Me and him went down and looked at my building that I had, and I figured out it was going to take like twice as much space I had. But somehow we figured it out. One of the guys that helped me get that done still works for me today. His name is Cecil Smith. So big shout out to Cecil Smith for sticking with me this much so long. But Cecil and I got this humongous order. And I mean, I was so broke at the time, I used to burn my trash instead of a dumpster. Mm-hmm. And I carried a lighter around in my pocket, and I'd light a box and burn trash out there over on where the Walmart neighborhood market is now. And when actually 2 of those employees are still with me. Linda Frederick was with me too. I was burning trash. And then I got a phone call. Back in the old days, I had a phone that was hooked up to a wire. I had to go in and answer this phone call. And Linda came in and said, "The building's on fire." I said, don't call the fire department because it's illegal, right? And I walked out of the building. It looked like the towering inferno, man. That thing, flames were coming up over the roof. I said, call the fire department. So they called the fire department. Total loss. No insurance.
No.
Had all of my inventory in there. All of my inventory. Of course, my wife was on vacation still down in Florida with her sister. And I don't know if I told her I burned the building down. But me and Cecil, we got all that shit cleared off of that slab. And I went out and bought some old dryers from a laundromat to figure out a way to dry our wood chips.
Yeah.
We were running in 3 days. Boy, it looked terrible. I mean, what we made looked like something out of Snuffy Smith, but we got it running. We were back up and running 3 or 4 days. So that guy still works for me, and the lady who called the fire department still works for me.
So talk about that, because I feel like that is, I mean, talk about top 3 traits of an entrepreneur, the ability to figure it out.
Right.
Those 3 words, figure it out.
Being positive, that's the secret. Don't give up.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, anything, I don't know, that you would tell someone who's in college right now, trying to start something kind of out of school, anything advice you'd give that person?
Spend less than you make and outwork the competition.
Yeah, it'll work out.
It usually does. You know, a lot of these guys, I get people come and see me and they want to start. Like I've had people come and want my advice, and they rent a building from me, and they're taking more salary than I was taking. And it's like, you guys, if you get to the best time to start a business when you're broke.
Yeah.
You get up to where you had a expensive house payment, car payment, and kids going to private school. You got to make money from the get-go, and it's hard to start a business that makes money from the get-go. I've never been able to do that. Mine take about 20 years to start making money.
Yeah. Jeez.
So talk about, you didn't need to raise capital early on. You had some savings and then took some lines of credit, and that's kind of how you started to accelerate the business. Is that correct?
Right. Bank debt.
Yeah. And then anything else just on what those early years looked like? When did you make the transition from potpourri to candles? What year was that?
1990.
So 3 years in-ish?
No, it was 92. Okay. 1992.
Okay.
So I started in 87, 92, 5 years. We're already doing about $3 or $4 million in sales in potpourri. And I was at a trade show for a chain called Ben Franklin. And the buyer one of my buyers had a store out in some place in Oregon. Anyway, he came up to me and said, "You should get in the candle business." Because Yankee Candle, I placed my order for Halloween for Yankee Candle back in May, and they shipped it to me, and it's only 40% complete. You should get in the candle business. So,
wow.
His name was Adrian Taylor. I don't know if he's still alive. I've thought about writing him and telling him thank you. He told me to get in the candle business. I came home. I got a book at the library. I went to, there was a store in that building you just bought where Rick's Iron Skillet was.
Yeah.
It was called Once Was New. It was a secondhand store. It was owned by Roger Israel, who was Ben Israel's brother. Mm-hmm. His wife, Judy, ran it. And she used to buy old junky Pope seconds from me because it's a junk store. And I traded her $75. Okay, so here's a guy running a $3 or $4 million business. I take $75 worth of old potpourri and trade it to her for a stove to make my first candles in. And so I bought this old junky stove for $75 worth of potpourri, put it in my truck, took it up to a building. I'd already built several buildings up there, put it in a corner. And I went to the library and got a book on making candles. I went to Food for Less and bought 10 pounds of canning wax. I went to Walmart and bought some jars.
Wow.
And I started making candles with a pot, melted that 10 pounds and poured wax in there and started making candles. That was in 92. Like I said, I went to the library, got a book on making candles, and told my brother Thad, who's down in the office downstairs, I said, you run the office. I'm going to go out and work in the plant for a couple months and learn how to make candles.
Yeah.
And so made my first candles in 92. He went to the Dallas trade show, which they have a summer gift show. And after the first day, he called me and said, you better learn how to make candles because these sell a lot better than potpourri.
Wow.
So from 90.
Fad was changing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Home fragrance was changing to candles. In my, so we went from about, in 92, we were 100% potpourri. By 96, we're 99% candles.
Jeez.
So 96, we'd gotten up to about $9 million in sales, 6 to 8 million in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And we had about 5,000 independent customers across the country.
A lot of like boutiques still.
That's right. Mom and pop.
Yep.
And how were you doing sales back then?
Going to these
Driving
trade
around?
shows.
Okay, the trade shows. Okay.
That's right.
And they would place an order at the trade show, and then
You
for the
take
year,
Clipboard, and they place an order, and you'd take an order for $200 to $100 to $1,000, and you'd sit at a trade. Another lady is with me, still here. Her name's Donna Whittle. She used to go to a lot of trade shows with us, and we go and stay in cheap hotels and drive most of the time. Now, Thad and Anita, thank them. Big shout out to them, my brother and sister-in-law. They work for American Airlines. They gave us lots of free passes back then.
Yeah.
So lots of free travel. We found the cheap hotels in cities. I mean, man, you're talking about 88, 89. We found a hotel in Chicago that's $30 a night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we go to those shows, write orders, come back and, figure out how to fill them.
And then you'd ship them at that time?
Yes. Most of that was not too far out. And then every once in a while, you'd get a big customer out of the deal, like Michael's Inc. I sold to them. Hobby Lobby, I'd pick them up at a trade show. Those were two of my bigger customers back then. But then these independent stores were very important to me. But that business went away.
Okay, so talk about those days. You're getting into candles. You're at the trade shows. Seems to be the fad in home fragrance is changing. What were your candles different than your competitors back then? Was it just like they couldn't order enough from Yankee Candle? Why do you start to see that acceleration in the mid 90s?
Those guys are always. Yankee was selling them for $7.50, and we were selling them for $3 or $3.50 or whatever. So we're about half the price of Yankee, and that's still the case today. I've only been good at selling at a low cost, not at a high cost.
Why is that?
It takes a different personality. I mean, different personality sees value in it. A brand zealot, someone who's good at selling a brand can sit there and convince you that this is worth 3 times more than what theirs is. And I'm more like, here's the price. We can deliver you 100,000 tomorrow if you want it.
Yeah. Execution.
Well, we're just, it's just not been very good at selling a high margin product.
Yeah. So you're taking a hit on margins as part of that, or your ingredients different? So you're able to kind of solve some of that. I mean, how different can a candle be made? And that's an honest question. I mean,
how can it, it's your wax. We all have about the same wax. Okay. We have good formulations. Some people don't have as good of formulations as us, but this is from years of trial and error. And the guy running my lab's been with me probably 25 years, and he's smart. His name is Mark Turner. And I see all my competitors put all this crap on LinkedIn. Like one of my competitors, listen to this. They say they got 18 people in their lab, 18 scientists. Mark Turner does it all.
Wow.
And I went to another company up in Pennsylvania that sells fragrance oil. Beautiful lab, smartest woman. She sits there and tells me all about the chemistry and their fragrances to make them burn good in candles and how great they're doing. And you feel dumb. And then you go into their test room, their burn test room. They're not getting as good results as us.
Wow.
So we got so many talented people that have learned how to do stuff. I mean, Mark makes his own whiskey or whatever. His own still. He's a chemist.
Yeah.
He's just not titled a chemist.
Wow. And were you Were you acquiring any other companies back then, or was this just pure sales growth,
No,
sales growth?
I've bought several. It's never worked out for me. I'm not a good acquirer, and we're better at internal growth. But I did have a company in the potpourri business. There was a company over in Memphis, Tennessee, and this guy was a great salesman. His name was Bill McCauley. He had a company called Agape Products. He's a good salesman, a bad accountant, so he's losing money. And he'd gotten his business up to about $6 million. And he's a good manufacturer. He is smarter at me in making stuff. And I don't know if he's still alive or not. But he got in trouble. And he had a financier. You know, he borrowed money from a guy named Kimmons Wilson.
Okay.
Kimmons Wilson was the guy who started Holiday Inn.
Oh, wow.
So he's over in Memphis. He's renting a building from Kimmons. Kimmons, whenever you get private equity money, what they do is they'll send in their accountants, and you got to pay intercompany fees and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's renting a building from him. Well, all of a sudden, Bill's losing money, and Kimmons won't give him any more money. So I pick up some of his Dollar General business, 2 or 3 truckloads of potpourri back then. Seemed like a big deal. All of a sudden, Dollar General and actually Kmart started filling for Kmart for him. And he ended up owing me, Kmart owed me $250,000. And when they found out I shipped it instead of him from his company, they wouldn't pay me. So I'm sitting there, I'm fixing to have to eat $250,000 when I'm your age or younger. And that's back when $250,000 meant something, you know? And this guy's in financial trouble. Kimmons Wilson's son, who's his lawyer, tells him quit putting money into it. Bill's going broke. And Kimmons Wilson calls me. He's about like Sam Walton. So Kimmons himself calls me up, said, I want you to come and buy my company, buy this company from me. And I said, and I was real busy. I was fixing to go to Baltimore. So they're talking about, he's on the cover of Time magazine. This guy calls me up, says he wants me to come to Memphis and buy his company from him. And I was fixing to go to Baltimore 2 days later, and I had to go. And I was driving up to the county courthouse to pay taxes, property taxes. So it must have been in October. And because they always do October 10th. And it hit me driving up Archibald Yell. If I buy his company for less than what Kmart owes me, I'll get it for free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I called him back. Well, when he told me to come and see him, I said, Mr. Wilson, I said, your company's got the flu. And if I buy it, it's going to, I said, your company's sick. And if I buy it, it's going to give my company the flu. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And then it hit me driving to pay taxes. If I go and buy that thing for less than $250,000,
it's going to work out.
It'll be free. So me and my brother Thad chartered a plane. We went to Memphis the next day. Some old junkie 182. I don't even know who flew us over there. Probably Bill Smith or somebody like that. We go to Memphis, and Kimmons Wilson owns the FBO. So here's this 82-year-old man, big Cadillac, meets just him, meets me and my brother. So we go to this factory, which is 3 times the size of mine, and Bill was he's making stuff, and he just bought a big, expensive bagging machine to bag potpourri and had a bunch of inventory. And we start going at it, and he has this big computer printout. Back of that old green bar stuff. I don't even know if anybody knows what that is anymore, but it's big computer printout. And he'd pull out a line item and be plastic bottles. And he goes, we paid 23 cents for these bottles. I got 5,000 of them. Give me a dime. He did this for about 20 minutes. And I said, Mr. Wilson, I said, we're on 2 different pages here. I got to go.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. And I said, we got to go. And he goes, hang on a second, boys. And Thad's with me. And he said, let's go to lunch. So we go to the first Holiday Inn in Memphis, Tennessee. Wow. And just me and him. So that's pretty cool. You're with the founder and he tells me his story of starting Holiday Inns. It's a great story. And he says, now let's get back to this. Pulls out that book again. And he starts saying, I gave $10 we gave 3 cents for these labels. Give me a penny.
Yeah.
I said, I gotta go. And I said, I got to go. And he said, hang on, boy. I said, Mr. Wilson, all I give you is $175,000, period. And he goes, you got a deal. So he stuck his hand over. We shook on it. And we go back to his office. He's got a big office, bigger than this, big as this, whatever. And he starts we start going over the deals. His son's the lawyer.
Yeah.
Kind of like Thad's my lawyer now. And Thad looks at him and goes, 175,000. Thad goes, and now you'll finance that, won't you? He said, hell no. I called your banker, who was Gary Head. He goes, you can buy anything you want. So we wrote him a check for 175,000. He absorbed that company. Kind of turned out to be a dog, but at least I got my $250,000 from Kmart.
Yeah, you got it back.
And
Yeah.
so did the operation stay in Memphis? Did
No.
y'all move a bunch of products?
It's 26
and inventory?
truckloads. We bought that stuff to Fayetteville and used it up. And I probably broke even on that. And I bought 2 or 3 companies like that.
Mm-hmm.
They never work out. I just bought one in California 2 or 3 years ago for $1 million. It's been a dog.
Yeah.
Candles or
Yes, it was a candle company.
You're primarily buying inventory. on those
Inventory
two.
and shelf space.
Okay.
It's hard to keep that shelf space.
Okay.
When a company starts getting in trouble, man, those buyers will cut that shelf space out. And
Yeah.
if they miss a shipment or two, so if you buy a troubled company that hadn't been shipping good to somebody, man, they'll cut you out in a heartbeat, which they should.
Yeah. They don't have time for it. They need someone
They
reliable.
need to get some. They need to get some sales off that counter.
Yeah.
So talk about the late 90s and early 2000s. Read something about a factory or an outlet in Tawny Town. Did y'all end up building that or what?
I did.
Okay.
I built that.
Okay.
Man, so I got this deal in 97 with a buyer from Walmart. Her name is Debbie Richardson. Still alive. Thank you, Debbie, for giving me a chance. She came down. My salesman got her talked into coming down to see our factory. She had there's a big pillar candle that was called it's a 6-inch by 6-inch diameter candle. She came down. We didn't have any experience making those kind of candles, but she came down and said, I want this. And it was super popular at the time. And there's only one company in the United States that was making it. They were up in Pennsylvania and they couldn't supply Walmart. So she came down, looked around, saw what we were doing. And she goes, if you can make this candle for me for $7, I'll buy 189,000 of them from you. This was May of 1997. She said, I'll buy 189,000 from shipping in September. So I said, that's a deal. We shook on that deal. And then I bought 1,000 candle molds. And I thought, 1,000 candle molds, you pour wax in there. They'll set up in 4 hours, turn them 6 times a day, 6 times 1,000, 6,000 a day. That'd be no problem. I got those candle molds in. We started pouring that stuff. I wasn't getting, but it turned over every 24 hours, and my scrap rate was 60%. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to go broke. There's no way I can make this order.
Yeah.
And I have a lady who works for me named Donna Whittle. She's fixing to retire. And I said, I'm not going to make this, Donna. I need to tell the buyer. She goes, if you tell them that you can't do it, you'll never get another chance. That's good advice.
Wow.
And that would be like June 1st. So I had a mechanic and an electrician that worked for me. They were kind of my maintenance guys at the time. I said, let's go to, the machines for making candles were made in Germany at the time.
Yeah.
I said, let's go over to Germany, look at those machines.
Yeah.
And there's 3 companies making those machines in Germany at the time. And I went to all 3 of them. The first one, and they have a process where you turn the wax into a powder and then you press it. Okay. And I went to the first company. I said, I want to make this 6-inch by 6-inch candle with a press. Can you do it? They said, it's not possible. So we went to the next company and told them the same thing. And they said, it's possible, but nobody will buy it. We're not going to spend the effort on engineering to make that machine.
Yeah.
And the third guy, he's more like an American. His name is Michael Kotzian. And I said, he said, no problem. We can make you a machine, but it'll be 18 months. So this is June 1st. I got to deliver 189,000 September 30th. So it's amazing I didn't smoke, isn't it? So anyway, he said, I can't get it to you for 18 months. Well, I saw one of those machines laying on his floor, and this is when it hit me. He didn't make the machine. He drew it out and had machine shops make that stuff for him. I said, let me buy those parts and put it together. He said, we're not a kit. We're not a kit shop. So we came home on the plane, decided how we were going to build that press back before the internet, got out the yellow pages, started trying to find machine shops. There was a machine shop in Fayetteville called Bargo Engineering. He didn't have time to mess with it, and I didn't know him at the time. Now we're good friends. And I found a couple other machine shops, but I found one in Fort Smith. And this guy's name was Mike Barnett. He was working for a company called Copco.
Mm-hmm.
And I called him and I said, this is what I'm trying to do. And that guy understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
He understood what I said to him over the phone. He got it.
Yeah.
Me and him got it. So I drove down to Fort Smith next morning at 6 o'clock because he's so busy working at this company. He didn't have time to see me except at 6 or so. So I was there, Fort Smith, 6 o'clock, explained to him what I wanted done. He drew it out on a piece of paper, and he had me the first one built in about 4 weeks.
Wow.
And so he's fixing to retire. He's worked for me for 30 years. He's worked for me since 1997. He's down there in the engineering office.
Wow.
But he made me the first two in about 4 to 8 weeks.
No way.
Yep. And so we got those presses running about September 1st. And I told my wax company, I said, we were buying 3 truckloads of wax a month back then. I said, if this thing works the way I think it'll work, we're going to go from 3 truckloads to 27 truckloads next month.
Jeez.
And it worked. And so we went from 3 truckloads of wax in 1 month to 27 in September to 40 in October.
Oh my gosh.
That thing took off like the once in a lifetime thing, that 6x6 candle.
Yeah.
And it was selling as fast as we could make them. And, you know, we went from a $6 or $8 million company to about a $60 million company in about 36 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was primarily through Walmart.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Most of my success has been through Walmart or a couple other big retailers.
I mean, it's a blessing to be here.
Yeah.
That's right.
So the 6x6 back then, was anyone else making that? Or
Not in the United States. I mean, there's one company up in Pennsylvania that was pouring them in those molds, and they were called American Candle Company, and they're gone now. It's an old, in that thing, we sold more of those than anybody in the world for about 5 or 10 years to Walmart. Man, we were making 70,000 of them a day at one point.
Jeez. And so that was like year 2000 when you're like 60 million revenue?
From 97 to 2000, that's when it really blew up.
And then so talk about from 2000 up to the recession, kind of what that was like.
Which recession?
08 through 12.
Yeah.
You know, that product all products have a life cycle, and by about 2005 that was waning, and we couldn't come up with a new hit. So our business suffered, not so much because of the recession, it's just because our product was losing steam. And I made the traditional mistake that vendors do with Walmart, is keep lowering your price till you almost go broke. And thank God I survived that, because I cut my cost to half and my raw materials increased 3 times. So all of a sudden I'm losing $1 a candle on that, trying to save a sinking ship. Wow. And we survived that, thank God. But that, you know, that's a traditional trap that vendors get in with Walmart or any other big retailer, thinking volume will solve their problems, and it won't.
Well, and I'm sure it's hard, like easier said than done, of like, hey, this is just a season, let's just push through for this, 6 months or however long. Is my guess is what you're probably thinking at the time. Or
well, you got 200 people that need a job, and you feel obligated to keep them working and think you can work through it, but you can't. If it doesn't add up, if you're losing money on every piece, it doesn't matter how many pieces you sell. Actually, it's worse to sell more. But we survived that, and now we've transitioned our sales. Listen, our sales went from 60 million in 2005 to 9.6 million in 2012.
Wow,
that's like flying a 747 with 3 engines out. It was terrible. Had a 600,000 square foot factory in the industrial park. I mean, it was terrible.
So keep
a big shout out to Arvest for financing me during that time.
Yeah. Well, so go more into that. So it was how long? How many years was that period where the just decline?
It was 7 or 8 years of decline, losing money more than you can imagine. Losing millions of dollars a year. It's crazy.
And what kept you from throwing the hat in?
I didn't have any choice. You didn't have any choice. You got debt and obligations. You just got to get up and go to work every day. Hope for the best.
Yeah. Did you prep well before that? Would you say, like, I mean, you stash some cash away well, or
I bought a lot of real estate.
Yeah, on the buildings.
Yeah, and I didn't do a very good job of managing that until the last couple of years. We're still polishing that up some, but the reason why I was able to survive is that we always focused on value, everything in value. So most people had already had a jet and a yacht and a house in Florida by that time, and I didn't.
Yeah.
That made the biggest difference. Always living below my means.
I'm sure it was pretty hard not to.
What, live below my means?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but I'm talking about even during good times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pretty hard not to.
I don't know. You don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't care, you don't care.
Yeah.
If you don't care about. And now I like good stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff I buy that makes no sense, but it's because I like to go fast and I like, But I got a Hellcat instead of a Lamborghini, and that Hellcat gets you way more bang for the buck.
You had a motorcycle this whole time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, it never start anymore because I don't use them, but I got 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
But instead of buying buying an expensive rocket, rice rocket, you probably got to cut that rice rocket out. But, instead of a rice rocket, I had an old Honda that's fast. It was the fastest production motorcycle for 10 years, that VF 1100. Man, it's a great motorcycle. I still have it. Won't start. Need to get it running.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the 8-year period of declining sales.
From 2005 or 6 to 2012.
So aside from, hey, just show up to work every day, what else would you tell somebody that, like, that's going through something similar right now? It's just tough time.
Okay, so, talk to your bankers.
Yeah.
Explain to them what you're doing. And my banker, Craig Shea, RBS, been a great banker to me. And he says that my plan that I told him was we're going to grow out of this. So he says, I've done it. That was our plan, was to continue growing out of that problem. But it's really, God's blessed me and this company in ways I can't understand. But that's really, I think we're favored by God.
So talk about 2012. Sounds like you're starting to come up for air. What gives that air? What happened?
I can tell you exactly where I was. I was getting off a plane in Syracuse, New York, when my buyer from Walmart named Amy Bagley, big shout out to Amy, called me and said, "Congratulations, you've been awarded the triple pour melt business and a couple of candle items at Walmart for 2013." So that would have been July of 2012. And so we went from, say, $12 million to $28 million in 1 year. And we came up, thankfully to Mike Barnett, we came up with this idea of making a melt, which is those things that go into a melt warmer that has 3 fragrances in it. Mike, guy I hired down at Copco, he worked for a guy named Chester. Sorry, Chester, that I hired Mike. Anyway, Mike figured out how to make these melts with 3 fragrances in there, and we sold it to Walmart, and that really pulled us out, started making money again. And we got that Walmart business. That lasted about 3 years until we got cut out. With Walmart, there's always you'll do real good, and then your product will lose shelf space, and your business drops off, so you got to save up to survive that. It's not just Walmart. All retailers have done it to me.
Sure.
But anyway, so from 2013 on, it grew up until it dropped back down in 2017. Dropped about 10 million in sales in 17. And then from 17 on, it's really continued to grow. We used to try to make all candles for all people, and then we concentrated, say in 2021, just focusing only on a jar of candles. A candle that has wax in it.
Yep.
With wicks and fragrance. And that's what we concentrate on, being real good at that.
Why'd you choose that?
That's where the market is. Go where the fish are.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make the fish up, I tried for 20 years to make the fish. We're just going to go where the fish are.
Yeah.
Fish where the fish are.
That's good. So talk about some of the customer consolidation, because I think you have, out of the founders that we've interviewed, you have a unique business in that you were working with a lot of these big retailers that
they've all gone broke.
our kids will never see a Sears. They'll never, they may not see a JCPenney's.
We sold all of them.
Right. And so talk about what that looked like. You get word a company's going bankrupt. They owe you $500,000. How does that work?
Oh, man. So one day when I was younger, I used to come in a lot earlier. And thank God, I came into work. There's a company called Service Merchandise. Service Merchandise. Oh, y'all don't even remember them. They're out of Memphis or Knoxville, Nashville, maybe. I came in work one day. I couldn't sleep. I came in at 5, and I used to get the Wall Street Journal. And I opened it up, and Service Merchandise owed me about $500,000. And I read in the Wall Street Journal they'd missed an interest payment the day before.
Oh, no.
It's a bad sign. So they owe me $500,000. I called Bill Smith up in Springdale. He had a flight service, chartered a plane, and I sent my CFO and my sales manager over to Service Merchandise to collect from that buyer.
Yep.
And, of course, they're having all kinds of financial difficulties. And those guys sat in the lobby all day until the CFO, nobody'd see them. They sat in the lobby till I said, y'all stay there. And finally, they got a hold of somebody. And the CFO or somebody said, we'll get you a check in next week or two. So Service Merchandise, thank God, they sent me a check like the next week for $500,000, covered their receivable.
Wow.
That's before they filed. And they sent me this check. And then about a month later, they filed for bankruptcy. And there's what's called preferential payment. Y'all know what that is?
No. It's just like who's the highest in the totem pole?
If a company pays you off within 90, it's around this. If they pay you 90 days before they file for bankruptcy, you got to give it back to bankruptcy court because they pay, like they'll go pay all their friends or whatever.
Yeah.
So we got a preferential payment they charge, so the bankruptcy court want us to pay them back. So big shout out to Chuck Trantham, Tom Stockland, my lawyers. So Chuck Trantham talked them into, said, oh, this is just a little company working out of their basement. You can't give that back. And I think we ended up giving $10,000 back on that deal.
Wow.
So thanks to Chuck Trantham on that deal.
Jeez.
But we've had Kmart go broke on us, owed us $250,000, Service Merchandise, JCPenney, man, who else? Oh, just within the last couple of years, 3 years ago, we had a rep group. Just, why won't you sell Bed Bath & Beyond? My brother said, they're dying. We're not taking that risk. Oh, you're crazy, whatever. Linens and things, Bed Bath & Beyond. Bed Bath & Beyond's gone. It'll never come back. So there's been a consolidation. And it's Walmart and several others. That's who we want to sell to.
And are you selling online at all or any direct to consumer?
We don't. We sell a product that retails for $3.97 for 20 ounces. With the glass and the wax, there's 11.5 ounces of wax in it. Sells for $3.97. The glass weighs about 200 grams, whatever that is, 3/4 pounds. So you're talking about 28 ounces total. There's no way to ship that to a consumer for less than the retail cost at Walmart.
Yeah.
So we don't even chase that.
Yeah.
Now, these people who have brands, they'll spend $20 per item promoting that brand.
Yeah.
It's just sell a candle for $40.
Yeah.
We just stick to what we know. I'm 62 and I'm going to stay in those two yellow lines. What I know.
And for the other retailers, do you white label to their?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's all we do is store brands.
Okay.
We have a brand that we own called Timberwick. It's in Publix.
Yep.
It's a pretty good brand, but we're just not good at managing brands.
And did you start that or buy it?
No, I started that. It's a wooden wick candle.
And was that new? Was that up and coming?
20 years ago when wooden wicks were coming out. It's maybe $1 million brand. It's nothing huge.
Okay. It's cool. And then talk about how the technology, how the packaging, how things have changed over the course of 97 to, 2024. Talk through some of that.
Efficiencies increase if you got to keep pushing it. But for instance, one of these candle lines, same width, almost the same length. 10 years ago, we'd be lucky to get 8,000 a shift off of it. 8,000 shift, maybe 10 years ago.
On one line.
One line.
Okay.
Now we get 28,000 a shift. So 3 times more productivity.
Well,
And that's because paying attention to the little stuff, like the wickers going down. We bought all good equipment. When we moved this plant, I threw out all the old stuff, put in all new equipment, spent a lot of money, standardized it. Everything's the same pretty much. Put a lot of money into the software system that runs the factory.
Yep.
Manages the wax. That's made a big difference, is paying attention to that. Not having I started looking at candle lines like you look at a printing press. Printing press, they'll spend 4 hours getting a printing press, everything in registration. Then when they turn that on, that sucker runs fast. And they produce a lot of stuff in a few minutes, and then they're done. I've started looking at the value of what we can get off of each line every hour, and not taking jobs that don't cover the cost of the fixed cost of running that line.
Yeah. And talk about I think I read I forget when you said it, but maybe a few years ago, about just your competition overseas. I guess particularly maybe it's in China is where most of it is.
That Vietnam and in India.
Yeah. Okay. And is that still the case? Like today? And how did are you with the tariff situation? Did that help you, hurt you? What was how's that kind of impacting?
Yeah, it's terrible competing with Vietnam and China and India.
Yeah.
Those guys get paid. India pays their help $1 a day. Vietnam and China pay their help $10 a day, maybe. Our costs hundreds of dollars a day per person.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you make it up on is how do you get it to the consumer for less? Because nobody cares about anything but price in my business.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about buy America. They'll buy America as long as it's within very close to what China or Vietnam costs, or India.
So you are competitive with their cost.
I think nobody will tell me what they're paying for, but I think they do sell some stuff that you can't understand how they sell it for so little. But those governments will give them 15% of selling price back.
Yeah, subsidized. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Just to get U.S. dollars into their economy.
Yeah, And just I was going to talk about it like now. Yeah. So let's talk about the business now. Kind of where it's at. Your son's in the business now.
Yeah.
Working maybe give us an overview of like how many employees you got, and then kind of we want to also talk about what's going on maybe in the future.
My son's in the business. He's been with me for about 10 years in the business. He's just got to decide whether or not he wants to take it over or not.
Mm-hmm.
We're committed to staying in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which means that we're committed to not selling and getting PE, private equity in here, venture capital, that kind of stuff.
Why is that?
Oh, it's the death of a business. They will come in, they'll borrow a lot of money against it. They'll stop investing in the factory. And then, 90% of these small businesses that sell to PE move from their location within 10 years. And it's over with. Less than 10 years.
And why do you want to be in Fayetteville?
Oh, I love Fayetteville. I grew up here, this beautiful town. Fayetteville is very anti-business. But, Hanna's Candle Company and Hanna's Potpourri has probably hired thousands of people in the last 30 years here. We get a lot of warm bodies in the fall because we have non-skilled work in a nice environment. It's not, not hanging chickens on a cone. Sorry, Georges. I'm friends with the Georges, but this is better than working in a chicken factory. And you sit there and think, my question is, I asked my plant manager named Ralph Green. He's great at managing these people in this plant. They're happy and they like him for some reason, which I'm not sure why. He'll listen to that and hear me say that. But no, he's got a great relationship with the people in the plant. His retention out there is incredible. I don't know how he does it. But he said to me the other day, which made a lot of sense, he said, this might be the nicest place they go all day long. This is the safest place they may be in. I never thought of it that way. It's warm, nice break room. Yeah. They like the people. They're not worried about getting yelled at or whatever. So maybe that's why we have such good retention out in the factory. I never thought of it that way. So,
and are you running day shift and night shift?
Just day.
Okay.
Right now. And so the people, Fayetteville, Arkansas, even though, we never really gotten anything special from Fayetteville. We don't ask for any of these government programs. We don't have any press conferences. When we moved in here, we didn't have a groundbreaking. When I built that building, we don't have a groundbreaking. We don't care about that stuff. We just want to get in, do our job. Nobody really know who we are. I felt I shouldn't even be giving this interview, but I don't want anybody to know who we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody knowing what we're doing, but business has to stand on its own 2 feet, so we don't want any kind of government handout.
It's good.
And what I said about jobs, Fayetteville, Arkansas, not everybody can work at the university or whatever. People need jobs.
Yeah.
And they need to start out. I mean, people need to come in, learn how to be on time and be dependable and all that stuff, and then they can move on. So we have a revolving door of unskilled labor that comes and goes. And there's no hard feelings. When they get a better job, go on. It's fine with us.
Yeah.
We want you to stay, but everybody needs a job.
I'm thinking through so that your history, I mean, I'd say cyclical, maybe not cyclical just based off economy, but like you could get a product cut and your business could go from up here to down here.
Exactly.
That's
exactly
very
right.
unique to any of the founders that we've interviewed.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, just heavy concentration.
It is.
How are you protected against that in the future as you think forward?
You're not.
And is there a way to do that?
No.
Okay.
We don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our business strategy is to be so good they have to buy from us in the United States.
So good at the product, so good at the price,
At
so
everything.
good at the value.
All of it.
Okay.
Managing the business.
Be the best.
That's right. We're not. So we're not the best by any stretch. But we can't change our customers. We can only change us.
It's good. And yeah, I guess as it relates to that, and I feel like I know the answer you're going to give me based off of your concentration and your focus on being the best. But have you looked at the fragrance category? I assume, and this is an assumption, I don't know it half as good as you do. Have these, things you put on the back of your toilet, the incense,
all that stuff
oils
hurts. Those plugins really have hurt the candle business.
And so for you're not interested in that space as a way to protect the long term.
No, I used to be, but we're just not good at that. So we're going to stick to what we know.
Yeah.
We know how to buy wax. And we know how to put the wick in it and size the wick and get the fragrance to burn right. There's a lot more to making a candle than you think. Making a good candle is a lot harder than you think. And we're just going to stick with what we know. And we don't really, the reason why we care about growth is just for the people working for us. You got to have a business that's either growing or die. It's hard to have a business stay level, and you got to inspire the people. So we're growing. We're growing a lot this year, but it is a highly cyclical and very risky business. A lot like a farm.
Yeah.
Some farms have a great year. They have a good rain, and then some years they have a drought. And so our business philosophy is to have enough financial wherewithal to make it through the droughts.
Yeah.
It's good. I like that.
So I you've been here for such a long time. What are maybe some of the other businesses that coincide with Hanna's Candles that you're involved in, or that I know you kind of like the warehouse space, you self-perform construction, correct? And kind of learned that with it.
Right.
And then is there a Greenland Composites?
Yeah.
What's that?
I've got a company in Greenland run by a great man named Tim Moore. He's been with me for 37 years. Long time. He runs that company. We take recycled plastic and we extrude it like Trex.
Yep.
There's a company in Springdale called AERT. I got in the business because AERT was always talking about how they couldn't keep up. So I thought it'd be a good business to get into. And Tim's turned that into a good little business in Greenland. And we recycle millions of pounds of plastic every year. And
wow.
And we make door parts for some of the major door companies in the country.
Okay. And all out of Northwest Arkansas here.
Yeah, that's right.
So you take the plastic, extrude it means melt and filter it, or what?
Extrusion's like pushing it through a die, like a Play-Doh machine.
Okay.
It's got a screws it through and heats it up and turns it from a solid back into a semi-solid state, and you form it into the shape you want it. So the door parts that we make are the bottom rail on exterior doors. Back in the old days, the door used to rot out at the bottom, an exterior door would. You'd see rust there. We make a part that goes in the doors that keeps that from rusting.
Okay.
And did y'all choose that product specifically because you saw a market for it?
Well, I wanted to be in the decking business, but we couldn't give that stuff away. So we made decking, and then there was a class action lawsuit against the company in Springdale, and I decided, you know what, let's get out, and then we concentrate on door parts, and thank God we're still cranking along in door parts.
Yeah. And so with Hanna's Candles, what's the next year, 5 year, 10 years? Is there vision or direction for where you're trying to get to, or what the goals are?
Yeah, really the vision is for Thad and I to live till we're 95, so that gives us another 30 years. And then compound interest that happens from 60 to 90 will be incredible.
Yeah.
Compound interest, not only in ability, but knowledge, market reach, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Jake wants to take over, he can. He's doing a good job now, my son, and that's really the long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And, really, if we do a good job, there'll be a candle company in Fayetteville, Arkansas 100 years from now. There's a candle company in Medina, Ohio called Root Candle, been in business 150 years.
Wow.
So we will have done our job if your kids drive by and there's a candle company in this factory in 50 years. That's what happened to Standard Register. They're here for 60 years. But, they sold out and lost their focus, and you get a bunch of people that really aren't working, and that's what kills a company, when you get people that are living out of the company and not providing value.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, especially when you go through different cycles.
Oh, I know. Sometimes you want to just
throw the keys in. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, Burt. I mean, how involved you still are with the business day to day.
Well, I only work till about 5 every day.
Okay.
I mean, I'll come in every day.
Yeah.
Well, my wife and I, we take a vacation as much as we want. We get to go. Beauty of my business too is I get to travel around the world and look at stuff. So,
yeah.
We're going to Paris to the Maison gift show in January. Last year we went to the trade show in Germany. Go to Europe a couple times a year to see trends and stuff like that. And I come back and tell these people that work for me who are real talented what I think's happening. And we got this super big candle going into Sam's this next year, I think. They're having a meeting with Sam's right now about it. I saw at a gift show in Barcelona this past year. It's really cool. It's a big old huge candle. So hopefully that'll be in Sam's this next year. And if it's a good idea, it'll sell like gangbusters. And if it's a bad idea, we'll get charged back a lot. We'll lose the money.
See what happens.
That's right. So that's a great thing about business. Get to go travel to Europe a couple times a year and go see stuff. Going to New York a couple weeks from now, go visit a couple vendors. I went to a vendor in Pittsburgh last week. Went to one in New Jersey 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I get to travel around a lot and see what's going on.
Yeah, but for people who are listening, it's like you're very dialed in for what's going on here at Hanna's Candles.
Try to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I got a lot of good people who take care of the details. I just know the big picture stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I got so many good people in this company. It's incredible. I wonder why, it's just, I don't know how I got so many. In our tenure here, it's like 16 years.
Wow.
Average tenure.
Man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially in manufacturing. I mean, that you look at segments of the market across the U.S. over the last probably 10 years, people who are in warehouses, I mean, it's hard to keep staff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It still is. But Ralph and Rhonda Freeman's my HR lady that also is my CEO, accountant, CFO, whatever she is. I think my brother's really CFO. But anyway, Rhonda, she does a good job managing people. We use some temporary services that do a real good job managing their people. And so we're lucky to be able to keep people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, last couple of questions we ask every guest at the end of the podcast. First one, why build a business in Northwest Arkansas?
Well, I grew up here, and I had no desire to go any place else. I've lived in California, I lived in Germany, I've lived in Missouri, I've lived in, that's probably about it. And I travel a lot. Man, this is a great place.
Yeah.
So we need to preach the gospel of Arkansas, and especially Northwest Arkansas. Man, this is a great place. And we're in America. We need to preach the gospel of the United States. This is, we're very lucky to live in the United States where these opportunities are, but Northwest Arkansas, and thankfully for the Waltons, Tom and Stuart, putting in these bike trails. Oh my gosh,
it's crazy.
It is nice.
Yeah.
So big shout out to them too. I don't know them, but thanks for doing that. Gary Vernon, who's doing those bike trails for them, that guy, they just continue to grow.
I love them. I'm out there on those trails all the time.
That rail park up in Rogers. Golly, that thing's great.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been to that stuff in Bentonville in a long time, but you can get on bike trail here and go all the way to Bentonville. That's pretty incredible.
And the bike lift that's coming in, I can't wait for that to come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hope sometime here
you can't
next year.
In Northwest Arkansas, you're not trying the right thing, right?
Mm. Well, and so last question: how do you define success?
Oh, how do you define success? Oh, that's a good question. Like I stopped by on my way to work today and saw my grandkids. They stopped by to see me yesterday. That, having good relationships, longevity. There's a study from Harvard, longevity. And that study is done I think it started in the 1930s. Your relationship with people is one of the things that determines how long you live.
Wow.
More so than diet or exercise. You got to have a reason to live. So success would be your relationship with everybody, really.
Yeah.
I mean, want to have a good life. I don't care much about showing off what I got, but I like to have cool stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that goes fast.
And good relationships.
Yeah. And, the people, all the people who work for me, I don't want them to hate me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, one of the things we do at the end of every episode, Burt, is kind of summarize what we learned, Cameron and I learned from you today, what we think that people who listen to this are going to learn. And that's the goal, is really to inspire entrepreneurship in Northwest Arkansas. And so I think the first word that I would use to describe you is committed. I watched this with my dad. I've watched this with other people. A lot of people we've had on the podcast be committed, not selling to private equity. They're just not interested. And a lot of that comes from how much they care about this area, how much they care about their employees. And I'm not saying it's wrong to sell to private equity, but I just think it shows a level of commitment and intensity and appreciation for what you built and what you look forward to for the future. And I think when you said, hey, if there's a candle company, when you drive down this road in 50 years, we did a good job. I think that's something that all of us can learn as we're building businesses and being in the business world, just how to be committed to that vision and helping this area grow in a healthy way. So that's the first piece. I think the second piece is just being really, really focused. Knowing what you do well, knowing the exact product that you do well, and not focusing, and especially when your company's growing and you're successful, opportunities come from everywhere. And I'm sure you have opportunities to, buy the aroma company or something like that. Like, I'm sure there's tons of those opportunities that exist, but you have stayed very focused on, hey, we make these candles really well, and we're going to figure out how 5 years from now we can make them even better, and 10 years from now make them even better. Yeah. Even with Greenland Composites, you said we're focused on door parts. That's what we make. Mm-hmm. And I think there's just a level of focus as we're talking with you that we can all learn from and integrate into our own businesses and things like that. And then I think the last piece, I think the clearest piece about you, Burt, as an entrepreneur is your ability to figure it out. And you started at the beginning figuring it out, didn't have a degree, didn't have a ton of money saved up. You just figured it out. You walked into the World Trade Center and you figured it out. And the story about 189,000 units at Walmart, you flew all across the globe to find a machine, couldn't find it, went through a phone book, found someone in Fort Smith to figure out how to make the machine in 4 weeks. Like, that captures this story. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's nothing, no one hears anything but this, it's if you are growing a business, if you're working in a business, if you're starting a business, if you want to start a business, you've got to learn to just figure things out. So, yeah.
Well, thanks
for coming on.
Yeah.